Hi there, welcome to another episode of my blog on my YouTube channel. And today I'm going to touch on, well, as everyone knows, this first segment of videos is dealing with my personal life, and be dealing historically. So I touched on my childhood in the first video, so this is my second video, and I'm going to touch on my teenage years. So in my teenage years, it was a very complicated time, and for you all that looked at my first video, you would know that a lot of my stuff, a lot of my journey deals with colorism within the black community. We are lovely people on our own but it's something real that's in our black community that people need to wake up and get out of, because I think some people now realizing it, and you'll see memes like everybody studying little light-skinned babies. I just want a chocolate baby. I don't mind getting me a chocolate baby either, but I have one already. One day, hopefully, if it's for me, I'll have another, but for right now I'm focused on other things. So my teenage years were just as my beginning years were, you know, battling with the colorism amongst my family, because as I mentioned in the last video, I am the darkest, especially in my immediate family. Because of when you have mixed families, I have pure black in my family, pure native black. Based on my grandmother's account, I have ancestry in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where a guy, well, that'll be my great-great-grandfather, came from South Africa, and my great-grandmother or great-great-grandmother, who was a native of the St. Vincent and Grenadines area, Bequia, more specifically, they had my grandmother, but they had my grandmother's mother, so yeah, they had my grandmother's mother, and then they had my grandmother. So in my veins have pure black, and when I say pure black, like dark, pure smooth skin, like really dark. Then it have pure Caucasian from South Africa, and then throughout on my mom's side there's pure Indian and pure Negro. And that's the thing, being a Caribbean person, you're more likely from an African diaspora, part of the Indian diaspora, part probably like Portuguese, and you might have French Creole, and more than likely, if you're Caribbean, no matter how you look, you have some bit of mixture in you somewhere. Because look at me, my nose not straight, it's not pointed, my eyes not big, they're not small, my lips kind of, so I don't know, sometimes I just feel it big, but it's kind of average. So yeah, that happens. That's basically my genetic makeup. I always thought I'll do a 22andMe or an ancestry test to see how much percentage of what I am made up of. Doesn't matter, but I know who I am. I try to embrace all my cultures, so don't matter what the day is. For holidays and certain festive observance, I would dress in my Indian wear. Even though my hair is curly, I would dress in my African wear. I would dress up in my patriotic colors for independence and stuff like that. I would, you know, that's just me. But back to the matter of hand, we're talking about teenage. A teenager is a person that's going through a lot. That's, you're trying to identify yourself. You're trying to say, okay, why am I not that pretty? And colorism boils back down to when I was in secondary school. As I told you all, in the next video I'll tell you the Caribbean country I'm from. I don't know if you could guess it for now. I would leave probably a link in the description. You could probably send my email. Let me see who could possibly figure out the country based on my accent. I know you could sense my accent, that if you could figure out the country I'm from. So in secondary school, one of the two most popular girls were in my class here, at least. Both of them were light-skinned girls, pretty light-skinned girls. One of the girls actually looked like Rihanna a little bit, and she was cool. Her sister was in my sister's class, so automatically through that we would talk, because we were in the same year. And she was a pretty okay person to me. We weren't friends, but I'll speak to her if she sees me anymore, or if I see her anymore. I wouldn't really pass her straight. Once I make her out, once I recognize her, I would talk to her. She had a child around the same time I had my son as well. So yeah, growing up in school, these girls were the more popular girls, provided yeah, there'd be the girls that might probably be gambling or drinking or stuff, but they were pretty. And actually, while they were in secondary school, they actually got tattoos. My mother would have skinned me upside down and probably put me to try. Couldn't do that. I remember begging for a second piercing in my ears when I was in secondary school, because I was thinking, mommy, just one more hole, like right there, I could just get one more hole. And she'd be like, no. And the more you ask, the less likely it is to get it. So now you're trying to ease up, like, okay, I want to ask you. So you remember I'm not asking you. Just remember I'm not asking you. But I still want it. Ultimately, I didn't get it when I was in secondary school. But I do love piercings. I like tattoos. I do love piercings, and I didn't get it until after I left school. Because, as I told you, my mother was a very strict, religious, praying woman. So that didn't happen. So yeah, back to the two girls. The two girls were ultimately, one was a kind of an Indian Negro mix, so she had this kind of big bouncy wavy hair, and she had a light complexion, and she had a straight nose and stuff. And the other girl, she was something like me, so she wasn't directly mixed, even though I think she was, but she looked more like me, but she was light skinned. So she had a kind of Rihanna finish. And that time in 2005, Rihanna was booming. Rihanna was new. So it's like, you just look, just like Rihanna. I was like, yeah, people just tell me that. So yeah, it boiled back down again to these girls. Most of the times that was popular in school were of lighter complexion, and it affected you. Like, I want to be pretty too. I maybe don't want to be popular, because that comes with a lot of stuff. Because most of the popular girls would be the girls that were easy. The girls that would be cussing, the girls that would be drinking, would be gambling, would be usually the bad girls are kind of the popular girls. So I don't really want to be popular in a sense, but I want to be more recognized, pretty. That I didn't feel because I was darker. And as I said, the same guy from my secondary school, he knew me as my sister. So he'd be like, Rach, sister, my sister-in-law, how you going? Like, because he was so obsessed over my sister with her curly hair and her, well, for some part I think it was actually straight, but you'll see when your hair is soft, the texture of your hair. So yeah, that was one of the obstacles. And later on in life, apparently he had liked me, but not to say a bad man, I didn't give him the time of day. I eventually was with his cousin after. So I have a kind of code, I have a kind of bro code, like certain stuff you don't do within a family. So anyhow you take it, it can go anywhere. So yeah, I didn't give much trouble in school, but usually in the Caribbean we have a uniform. It's a skirt and a shirt, or a coverall. We had a shirt and a skirt. And this is something I want to bring out as a point in this episode. So I'm touching on secondary school life, introduction to sex, stuff like that. And in secondary school, I was typically a strict mom's child. My skirt was pretty long, my socks were pretty highish, my shirts were pretty slack. So over the definition, kind of how a nerdy person does look. So I'm looking at my dark brown self, with these pretty red girls with the curly hair and the nice features, with their shorter skirts. They at least have the second piercing in their ears and stuff. And I was just like, just totally out of, So what I did, I was a sneaky child, and this is the point I wanted to bring. If it's one of the points that I want to take you all to take away, black community or not, but it's in a general thing. I'm not saying you don't go to school for the uniform, but ultimately children like to be comfortable, and we don't really be comfortable in them long skirts parents be giving us. So I am not encouraging this. I was lucky my mother didn't punish me for this, but I'm going to say what I did. I had like 3 or 4 school skirts, And what I did is that I dedicated my time to this one school skirt. So every time my mom would leave the house and it would be like our sisters alone home or whatever, I would sneak and work on this one skirt. So she go out for a little bit, I'll cut the skirt, then she'll go out again, I'll hem the skirt, and she went out again, I'll have to press it out. I don't know if you all know how pleated skirts work. It's you have to like spread it out. So then I would spread it out, press it, throw it back in the wardrobe, find the wardrobe so she doesn't find it. And then when I get the free time again, I would pleat the skirt and press it down again. And eventually I cut my shorter skirt. But you're probably wondering how I got away with it. This is how I got away with it for so long. My school uniform wore shirt jacks. Shirt jacks is the thing that is fitted to the bottom of the shirt. So what a lot of people did that couldn't cut their skirts is that they used to roll up the skirts up in the shirt already, like right under the breast, and put on a shirt jack underneath it. So it would look, and that's what my mom thought I was doing for like the last 2 years that I had this skirt. She was like, Ram, pull down your skirt. Your skirt also too high, unravel it. I said, yeah, when I reach in school, I'll do it. And the thing that managed me, that enabled me to get away with it, is that I've been washing my own clothes since I was like probably 7 or 8. My mom had 5 kids then. She didn't have time to be washing, so we learn independence at a very young age. And sometimes, like if she might not done good, she'll come back. Like when we were younger, 9, 10 coming down, but between 7 and 8 we learn to wash our own clothes, because she'll be cooking for 5, she'll be baking bread every week for 5, she'll be preparing all of us for school, homework and stuff. So we learn to wash our clothes at a very young age. So I wash my own clothes. Most of the time I'll put it in the dryer. I'll try not to hang it up, because if she comes downstairs and she see the short skirt on the line, that's not race skirt is longer than that, she just pulls it up. And just recently, I'm 20 how much years old, after 10, 12 years, close to 12 years after the fact, I was like, Mommy, when I cut my skirt? She was like, yeah, but, it's like, but what? She just like, So she just didn't take it on. But I got my short skirts. I didn't get my second hole until I was like 18. I got my second piercing in my ears when I was 18. Well, now, yes, I love piercings. I have like 3 or 4 down here. I have a kind of triangle up here. I have the same going on this side and something small on that side too. I love piercings. But that is not something of my mother. My mother is still in the religion she was in then, which is very strict about doing stuff like that, piercing your ears, taking tattoo, you know. It is still been a skin God gave to you. But I'm that kind of person. I do have a tattoo. It's a hidden one because I don't really like it for sure. I just like art and how it looks on you and stuff like that. And that's why sometimes I don't impose myself on my mom, because I know she still have her beliefs and I want to respect it. And I have to respect that she did what she could and what she thought was right at that point in time, because she was the parent in that point in time. So I'm doing my parenting different, because guess what? I'm the parent in this relationship. And I show you all know this famous quote with Gandhi where they say, you wish to be the change you wish to see in the world. Now, I grew up so strict and so thing, and anything I do, I just wanted to please my mom. I didn't want to make her sad. She was going through enough. She had a lot of kids. I just wanted to be the best version of myself for my mom. I didn't even care if it wasn't for myself. Once my mom was fine, I was good. And I went through that. So I did a lot of stuff for her. I stayed in the religion, which prohibited us from birthdays and anniversaries, and I was a festive person. My dad celebrated it, so we got like little doses, and I wanted to be in it all the time. Always wanted to be in the Christmas and everything, and we couldn't do it. And I love my mom so much, I would do it. This is what you want, I'm going to do it, because I love you that much. But eventually I couldn't. How much you could live for somebody else and not for yourself? And I'm saying selfless is not a good thing, or selfish is a bad thing, but understand at a point in time you have to start living for yourself and not just for other people, because on a deathbed nobody can make you feel better about the choices you made once you know that you made the best choice you think you see fit at the time. So with my son, I try a different approach. I try not to treat him too much as an adult, like to still have morals, barriers, you know, have a conscience, try to do good. Basically what you want the universe to give back to you, you try to give it to them. Don't try to feed it like junk and stuff like that and expect back this big green foliage of fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. It doesn't go like that. So my mom was the parent in that situation with me. I'm the parent now. It was hard, as I said, like with the colorism, to growing up darker and having all these restrictions on you. You can't lie, you can't form too much outside relationships, especially friendships, because you tend to try to stay within the realm of the religious institution, and don't come to, I think the Bible speaks of unevenly yoked or something to that effect. So I feel like I was robbed a little bit, but I'm not mad at my mom. She did what she think was fit to try to produce the best child that she could have at that point in time. But I'm the difference with my son. I'm trying to not make him feel that way while still trying to accomplish what my mom did. Because I think if it wasn't for my mom, I probably might not have been such. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I try to be the best version of me that I could. I try my best not to do anything wrong. I try to tell the truth all the times. I try not to do stuff that, lie, cheat, steal, all the stuff the Bible talks about. And honestly, I think that is the most you could ask for a child, for a brother, a sister, a friend. Just try to be a good individual. So even though I don't really go to church, I believe in God. I do believe there's a God. I do have faith. I do have everything, but I don't have to be tied down to an institution or a certain belief where either I don't eat a particular meat, or I don't drink a particular drink, or I don't do something. I shouldn't be held back because of to form what, to prove what. So I try to be the best version that I could be, and because it was eventually getting kind of tiring all through secondary school, done looking the way I did. I looked darker, I was basically done nerdy, and I can't form too much meaningful relationships. Even though I did have two best friends. One was in Form 1 to Form 2. She was an Indian girl, and she actually had on a hijab. So it wasn't weird, but that's Muslims, obviously, and in the Caribbean they're very popular. Our religious diversities, like Muslims, Hindus, Christians, which will subdivide into Presbyterian, Roman Catholic, Anglican, stuff like that. So yeah, and then coming down to the end of school, where I get my little bad influence, my best friend was an Indian girl again, and she actually went with me to pierce my navel before I even turned 18. That's another story. But before I turned 18, I pierced my navel. I was working and going to school, because in school my mom was like, do sciences. I like sciences, but I was like, no, I think I like business. So I did business, came out with all 7 business subjects plus music. I don't know, I remember I mentioned in the last video that I love music. So I went lunchtimes and recess, and I studied, and even though it was a C, I have a C in music at that level, which is the CXC level. I have a C, and I passed all my other 7 subjects in business. I was like, you know what, mommy, I think I want to do sciences. And she was like, okay. So I worked in a grocery, and I went to school. So I didn't really impose on my mom, because she did suggest, Ryan, do this. And I actually pierced my navel, and I had to hide it from my mom for close to a year until I turned 18. So I know eventually I was coming out of the whole religious bounds, because that's not how I wanted to live my life anymore. I know it was going to hurt, because it was going to hurt to see me leave like that and stuff like that, because it was hard from being somebody that was a mommy's girl, is a baby, is the last child, is going to please mommy. But my baby sister came when I was 14, so that kind of softened the blow a little bit. Hopefully, I was hoping it would soften the blow on my mom. So that, yeah, before I turned 18, I pierced my navel secretly, and I got caught really stupid though. My mom was measuring my first skirt for one of those religious functions I had to go to, and I forgot to take out my ring, and she pressed on my navel to measure my skirt, and I was like, and I just run away really quickly, and I pulled it out, and I came back, and she watched me. She tried to measure again. She pulled up my jersey quick. She was like, what's that? And the lying. She hates lying. But I was like stuck. I was like, it's a mosquito bite. I got a mosquito bite, and they said the mosquito bite got infected. You hate lying to your mom. You don't want to lie to your mom. Provided how much I love my mom too. Trust me, I don't want to be lying to my mom. But I felt like I had no choice. I had to lie. And then she brings up stuff. because sometimes she wouldn't deal with you immediately, but that waiting is even more deadlier. If that is a word, more deadlier. It's more deadly, my bad. It's more deadly than her addressing it in the initial. So you're always on your toes, like, I wonder when she's gonna tell me about a navel ring, boy. But yeah, as I said, I try not to have my segments too long. It's just an introduction into my life. My ultimate goal is that I want to be of influence to somebody, if it could be that, you know. I know probably have a lot of people that are in similar shoes to mine, especially when I touch on colorism a lot, to be like, you know, more understanding of people that are a little darker, and they could use a little extra push, not putting aside the other lighter people too. And this segment was a touch on colorism too, but the prime thing of this too with this segment was to deal with my teenage years and being so sheltered. And I know I didn't get to touch too much on it, but like losing your virginity and stuff like that. For being a sheltered person, always want to please your mom, I would recommend. So my tip, I say I try to leave a tip at the end of all of my blogs. When you're a strict parent, and it's going to be very hard to hear, but you need to listen to your children. Because I grew up sheltered, like even when I lost my virginity, to tell my mom, it was really heartbreaking. And probably if I used to communicate with her more before it happened, it probably would not have happened. Probably would have saved myself the heartache and whatever, and probably have it, I don't know, better or not as how my first experience was. But to parents, especially single parents, if you're a single dad too, your children need to feel welcome. So as much if you're a religious person and to push the religion, just touch base. Be like, you okay? Your stuff. Don't be so raw to be like, you know, your stuff's still intact, but like, you know, you're okay. They're talking about sex ed in school, how this going, you know, how your body working with your period and it changes and stuff. So this takeaway point from this blog, it touched on colorism, but ultimately it was about parents being a bit more open to their children and be a bit more understanding and listening. My mom did listen, but certain stuff where it kind of came close to religion and being on the bungs of kind of, you know, going against, it was a little touchy for her. So you need to listen. You need to listen to be a bit more open, and it could, I wouldn't say it would eradicate a lot of the kind of little messed up individuals we have in society, but they'll sure help, especially with communication and not having certain things having to happen. So that's the point for this time. So next time on my channel I'll be touching on motherhood and stuff. So I'll see you next time.